Hi, and welcome back to Small Caps. I'm your host, Jess Burtick, and today I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Murray Hill, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Elevate Uranium Limited. The company's ASX ticker code is EL8, and the company has a dedicated uranium portfolio of assets across two jurisdictions in Namibia and also in Australia. Murray, it's great to have you back on the show. Haven't spoken to you in quite some time, so it's really great to see your face.
Thank you, Jess. Great to see you too. I'm really looking forward to our little chat.
Yes, so much progress has been made, particularly in Namibia at Koppies. So I thought we might just delve straight in and talk about your recently upgraded mineral resource estimate at the Koppies project in Namibia, and specifically how that upgrade will impact the project's development timeline and also the potential production rates.
Yeah, Koppies is our flagship now in Namibia. 66 million pound in the project, 56 million pound in the resource. 78% of that is now indicated. So 44 million pound is in the indicated status. So that's what we've been working on since our announcement 4 or 5 months ago on the size of the resource. And now we've got it. The first stage of the de-risking process is doing that indicated drilling program. We've done that. And now we've got the upgrade process. We've got a project to apply it to. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this project forward through development. So we're planning to have a 3 million pound per annum production out of Koppies. That will put us in the top 10 producers in the world outside of Kazakhstan. So we would be a significant player. But when you consider 44 million pound divided by 3 million, that's 15 years, and we've still got another 20 million pound we haven't converted to indicated yet. So it's going to be a long life project. And the first step, it was the indicated. The second step is building a demonstration plant to demonstrate the upgrade process on this particular ore, and then to do a study after it. So the demonstration plan is purely there for demonstrating the process at scale and continuous, and then the study will prove that what we've been talking about in terms of the cost, a 50% reduction in capex, 50% reduction in opex compared to conventional processing. So we've got now a clear pathway for development of the Koppies project.
Fantastic. So now with the clear development pathway that you have at Koppies, the company also released a maiden resource estimate at your Hirabeb deposit. I hope I've pronounced it correctly. Can you elaborate on the potential of that deposit and its contribution specifically in the context of the overall Koppies development project now?
Yeah, it's pretty important. What we've established at Koppies is that there's mineralisation outside the paleo channels we've been exploring on. And in fact, 65% of the resource is in weathered basement. Now, weathered basement, still secondary mineralisation, still really shallow. And we use a photo in one of our presentations which shows the sort of secondary uranium within that weathered basement. So it's softish, it's not hard rock. And we've now got we're exploring for paleo channels, we're now exploring for weathered basement. So that's another frontier for our exploration team to go forth on. Now, down at Hirabeb, yes, we found paleo channel. We've got mineralisation in it. We just announced a maiden resource of 10 million pound, as you point out, and your pronunciation was spot on, by the way. So now we're looking to expand that resource outside of the paleo channel. So we're drilling, and it's open in a number of directions and getting good drill results. So it's another way of expanding our resource base. We're going across to other projects now, applying what we've learned at Koppies in terms of the weathered basement, and really going to explore it and add many more pounds to our 160 million pound globally we've got.
Amazing.
So Thanks. It's important. Sorry, I didn't answer that question properly. The importance is it's now a satellite to the Koppies project. It's a very short tracking distance away. When we produce a concentrate out of upgrade, we can track it through the centre of gravity, which is the Koppies resource. So it's a sort of hub and spoke now. Koppies is big enough. Now we'll bring concentrate from other projects through to the Koppies project where we produce uranium.
That's really interesting that you mentioned that. So if it's a hub and spoke sort of model, assuming there might be other potential satellite discoveries that you might make in the future.
So Jess, we've got the largest tenement position for nuclear fuels in Namibia. If you add up Deep Yellow, Bannerman, Paladin, Rossing, all of those combined, we're more than those combined. So we've had 4 discoveries on that package in a period of 4 years. 2 of those are now resources. The first was Koppies as a discovery. The second was Hirabeb. the third Namib 4. We're drilling there right now and getting some good results. I can take you to site and show you carnotite sitting on the surface. I mean, this doesn't mean there's a resource there, but we're drilling and we're finding uranium. So that's pretty exciting. And Capri is our fourth, and we're drilling there. So I'm expecting that next year, when we talk to each other again, if it's that long we've got to wait, then we're going to have four resources on our 4 discoveries. Who does that? That's a fantastic conversion of discoveries to resources. And 4 discoveries in 4 years, are we happy with that? No, there's more to find. Just with the way we're the way we're exploring for uranium now and looking outside of paleo channels, we're looking where nobody else has looked before and finding. So I think we're going to find more than our 4 discoveries in 4 years. So I'm quite excited about the prospects of growth in Namibia, just to support our development of Koppies and the project pipeline moving forward.
Unbelievable, Murray. Now, you've just mentioned 4 discoveries in 4 years in uranium, which is quite a hot commodity at the moment, and we'll get more on the macro side of things later. But it's no surprise that the company has raised an institutional $25 million in capital, which is quite remarkable given the relatively downturn market in the last sort of 12 months. Now, first of all, congratulations on that. Second of all, can you tell us, our small caps audience, how are these funds going to be allocated, and what are the key milestones that the company hopes to achieve in the near future?
The reason why we got the raising, we were able to do that, and we got it in a very short period of time, and it happened very quickly because of the interest. So we went to talk to institutions about, the pivot away from just being an exploration company. We're now going to be a developer. We're going to get Koppies into production. So we went away and spoke to institutions with a clear message. We are still going to continue exploration because we've got great success at it. We've now got a project that's big enough. We've got upgrade to apply to it. We're going to go down that path. We're going to prove upgrade, and we're then going to get a study done, and away we go to production. So it was a clear pathway. So they could see that. They realised that we didn't have enough funds to do what we wanted to do. So hence, that was an easy raise, really. I hate to use the word easy because a lot of work goes into it from a lot of people, but it was really quick because of our clear direction. So the use of funds is really, continue doing the bench scale metallurgical test work program on the Koppies ore. Now, we've tested every other calcrete ore in Namibia. We know what they're like. We've tested the 3 around Koppies, just hadn't tested Koppies yet. So we have an expectation of the results. We're pretty confident. So then we've shortlisted a demonstration plant vendor, and we're about to sort of appoint them. They'll start design construction of the demonstration plant, probably in Perth. We'll then move it across to Namibia mid next year, operate it for a period of time, 2 to 3 months, and then we'll have an overlap with the study, and then we're aiming to complete the study by end of next year. So we'll have a clear understanding of upgrade works on a continuous basis, and this is what the results will give us. These are the capital costs, and these are the operating costs to produce 3 million pound per annum. So that's pretty clear, and that's the primary use of funds. Secondary use of funds, as I said before, is continue our discovery. We're very successful at, and continue to add pounds both in Namibia and also start to do some work on Australian assets. So a lot of work to do, and we have the money to do that. So we don't have to go back to investors before we finish the demonstration plan or before we finish the study. We've got the money to go and do it. So let's get out there, demonstrate to the people that invested in us and our shareholders that we've got a lot of value in the company through upgrade and through the Koppies project.
Interesting. Murray, you mentioned the upgrade process just then. I wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about the upgrade process that the company has developed, and its potential to improve the economics of your uranium projects, particularly the low-grade ore ones.
I can't tell you, Jess, it's a secret. No, what we do is we look at things a little bit unconventionally. So we look at the minerals present and go, okay, the minerals causing problems in these style of ores, clay and calcite, for instance. So what we'll do is we'll focus on concentrating the gangue mineral, the mineral without uranium, and throw it away. Most people wouldn't think of that. So it's completely counterintuitive. Hence, it's innovative and hence patentable. So we have 3 patents around the world on our process. So simple unit operations that you'd find in any base metal, gold, mineral sands plant, just configured unconventionally. So what you would call off-the-shelf unit operations. So you and I talked off air before. We talk about upgrade as a process. It's not a technology. A process is just reworking unit processes that everybody understands. We employed a metallurgist 6 weeks ago, never had any uranium experience. He's picked up upgrade just like that because
Wow.
it's logical. But it is a bit different because you're focusing gain minerals and concentrating those and throwing them away. So that's the beauty of it. So we can get rid of all the calcite. So now instead of going for an alkali leach at 92 degrees, we can go for an ambient temperature acid leach. So a lot lower cost, a lot easier to operate. And you're producing about less than 5% of the mass prior to leach. So you're rejecting greater than 95% of the mass of what was mined. So now you've got this really small mass, high grade. So for instance, Koppies would take 200 ppm to say 10,000 ppm before leaching. So now we've got a choice. Will we leach it in a very, very small leach circuit because it's very small tons and then produce yellow cake in our own refinery and take it to a third party? Because we've got a large resource, we're more likely just going to take it straight through our own leach circuit into production and produce yellow cake. So it gives us optionality. So that sort of going to third party, as we talked about before, is essentially the hub and spoke. So now here a bit, produce concentrate here a bit, bring it to Koppies. Maybe at Namibian 4, bring it to Koppies. Capri, maybe to bring it to Koppies. So that hub and spoke is really what we were looking at for third parties previously, is now looking at for our own benefit and bringing concentrate into our central facility and producing yellow cake. So it's a process that is innovative. We developed it out of necessity because we had the low-grade Marinika project, and now we've built it. We used it to build a company around, and we've built a good company at this stage, but we've got a lot of growth to go yet, and more proof of how effective upgrade is.
Yeah, thanks, Murray. And that's so interesting. And do you think so? Is the upgrade process company IP? Could it be used or adopted by other companies exploring for uranium, or is it company specific to Elevate and its projects in Namibia? I'm quite interested in this process.
It's 100% owned by us. It's applicable to Australian assets as well. Look, we've tested every ore in Namibia, co-operated ore in Namibia. We know it works. We've gone down a long path with some of them. Some have just done detailed mineralogy, but we understand every single ore in Namibia that this applies to. We know it works on others, but at the moment, it's available if others want to talk to us. But at the moment, we've got all these projects. You can see them just £160 million. We don't need it to go to a third party to try and sort of develop our process and to get it commercialized. Just use it ourselves. Add value to us and our shareholders, as opposed to sort of adding value to a peers' shareholders. So we're focused on using it for ourselves, but it doesn't eliminate the potential for it to be used by someone else in the future.
Yeah, interesting, Murray. Yes, keeping your trade secrets secret, particularly since you've got so much exploration upside. And I wanted to chat a little bit about your exploration potential in Namibia. And, you still have ongoing exploration happening in Namibia, as you mentioned. And could you just elaborate for our small caps audience, what are your exploration targets now? And is there any potential for sort of other future discoveries?
Yeah, look, I alluded to that before. We've now got a different target because we've got this weathered basement. So yes, we'll continue down the Paleo Channel exploration path, but we'll continue looking for weathered basement. So I'm expecting, based on the results we're getting now, that we're going to have 2 more resources in Namibia next year on our 3rd and 4th discovery. And with the ground that we've got coming up, we're just waiting for environmental clearance and final licensing. I'm hoping that we can find some uranium on those. So I really do believe we've got a lot of growth left in our resources. But we've been asked the question, why do you keep exploring when you're going to develop up Koppies? Well, firstly, it was a success. Secondly, the inexpensive nature of exploration. It costs us $1,000 to drill a hole. Now, that's cheap. I should say inexpensive because cheap's the wrong word. It's inexpensive. So we're drilling 22, 28 metres. So for us, conventional exploration involves, sometimes a lot of geophysics. I was at IMARC last week, talking geophysics. I said, well, at $1,000 a hole, we can spend, 200,000 on geophysics and maybe not really sure. There's 200 holes and we can drill it. Now, we're not going to drill all of Namibia, but we've got our targets. We're picking from, again, some sort of knowledge we've gained from Koppies. So we're picking a target area. It's just so much easier and quicker for us to go and drill a hole as opposed to doing a lot of geophysics work. So we're pretty confident that we're going to add to our pounds. We need to, because we've got a minimum expenditure anyway. So we're going to spend the money. But, if we're going to spend another 3 or 4 million more than our minimum expenditure, and we're going to get 2 more resources, we're going to find another discovery or 2, I think that's a very, very good value for shareholders given the outgoings. I'll take you back to Koppies. We applied for the ground, we discovered and got an inferred resource of 56 million pound at 6.8 cents per pound. Now that is really, really low cost. And, look at the uranium price now sitting around $80 a pound. I don't think anybody has ever talked about a cost that low to find a resource from scratch, not from, we've got a resource, we've got some mineralisation outline, let's go and drill it. This is from discovery hole all the way through. So it's inexpensive exploration, it's effective exploration, and we'll continue to do it because we do it well.
No, fantastic, Murray. Well said. And Murray, you mentioned the uranium price. So I thought maybe now it might be a good time to discuss sort of your macro views on uranium and what factors you think might drive the uranium price up, particularly in the context of nuclear energy's role in climate change.
Yeah, look, nuclear energy has always been talked about in terms of climate change and low. I mean, it's carbon-free energy, simple as that. But now it's replacing coal. We're finding out that renewables don't work. I know the Australian government thinks the sun shines at night time in Canberra, but it doesn't here where I live. So hence you don't have solar, and wind doesn't blow all the time. And they're land hungry too. And nobody's got any plans for how to deal with the waste. They talk about nuclear waste, which is a very, very small volume. No one talks about the waste from renewables. So we know that it's going to replace coal, and more than likely sanity will prevail in Canberra and realise the sun doesn't shine at night, and they will do something about it and move down that nuclear path. But so it's always going to replace fossil fuels potentially over a period of time. But now we're talking Amazon, Microsoft, Google committing to off-the-grid power. And when I say off-the-grid, I mean this power coming from nuclear is going direct into the data centres. None of it's going to see the grid. You're never going to see it. So I was at the Uranium Conference in Adelaide 2 weeks ago, and we had the next DC CEO speak. Unbelievable presentation. I didn't appreciate the energy required for data centres. So in the US by 2030, 12% of their electricity is going to be for data centres. Now, where's that going to come from? So nuclear is the obvious answer because they need reliable baseload. It's got to be there when they need it. I heard a number, and I don't know how true it is. It's something in the order of $15 million a minute if a data center is down. So, you can't afford it to be down. So you don't want to be running off renewables because there's no guarantee it's going to be there. So it has to be reliable, and hence, nuclear comes into the story. And when you hear the big companies around the world, the big data center providers, they're talking about nuclear. Geez, every time I get out of bed in Perth and I turn the news on or look at a nuclear story, it's just getting better and better. The demand is just growing and growing, and the growth in data centers is going to be enormous. I don't think anybody in government understands the growth that we're going to need it. We have to be a rich country. We need the data centers. We have to control our own data, not send it overseas. So I think we're going to see a hell of a lot more use of nuclear. It's going to get better and better for us. And we know there's not enough uranium being delivered to the market now. So, and we hear, last year we heard, or earlier this year we heard Kazatomprom, well, they can just crank it up when they want. No, they can't. They can't just crank it up when they want. They're going to be 15% down on their forecast. Again, they haven't met a forecast for 4 years or something rather. But the market sort of had this perception in their head they're going to at some stage. So we're not producing enough uranium. We're probably 5 years away from production. Our peers who've studied their projects to death are still 2 years away from production. We're going to be desperate for uranium, and we're going to see the uranium price just over $150 a pound, and it won't come down again. It's just the demand is going to be so strong, particularly when you've got the biggest banks in the world pushing it. You've got the biggest IT companies in the world demanding nuclear and off-grid nuclear. I can't see a better math ever in history of a commodity like we're seeing now for uranium.
Yeah, no, I have to personally agree, Murray. And also not to mention, the extraordinary amount of resources that go into creating renewable energy technologies. And the fact that they'll be lagging behind in terms of delivering on those commodities required to power those technologies. So yeah, it just seems that there's only one possible solution. Anyway, from our perspective.
Yeah, we're a little bit biased, Jess, in this industry. We're producing we're planning to produce uranium, so we're a little bit biased. But if we did go down the EV, like if everybody in the world had an EV, we don't have enough metal in the world to provide the cars. So where are we going to go? What happens next phase? So and as you say, renewables consume a lot of energy to manufacture them. And like with Australia, we talk about being energy sufficient, self-sufficient. I don't know how they can do that. Yes, the sun shines, but 84% of the world's solar panels are made in China. How are we energy self-sufficient? We're not. So there's a lot of information the general public don't understand about the renewables programs. And I don't know whether the government actually understand themselves or they just got their head in the sand. Sorry about being so honest, Jess.
No, I love the honesty. Now, moving away from politics a little bit, I want to discuss your Australian assets, and in particular, your Bigelow joint venture that you have with Energy Metals has shown some really promising results. So what are the company's plans for your Australian assets now?
That was excellent pronunciation of Bigelow.
Thank you.
So I mean, they're drilling a bit deeper. We have 20% interest in the Bigelow project. They drilled a bit deeper under some of the resources, looking for more uranium. They hit intersections of 0.86% uranium, and a lot of other good intersections. So that's important for the growth of that project. So they're going to increase their spend rate on drilling next year. We've also got next to them, not far away, is our Minerva project. That was discovered in 1978. Nobody's drilled it since. 10 of the holes drilled had intersections greater than 10,000 ppm. That's 1%. So exceptional grades, not as deep as the stuff at Bigelow. It's a lot shallower. It's only 120, 140 metres deep. We need to go and drill that with diamond, understand the structure and work out how to explore it better. And then we've got the Angela project south of Alice Springs. It's a sandstone-hosted deposit. It dips at 9 degrees from surface. We've done some seismic work because it's more expensive to drill in Australia. So you need to do some geophysics work, if anybody listened to what I said before. So we've done some seismic work. We've identified the mineralised lens. We've identified a lens underneath it. Is it mineralised? Well, you can't tell until you go and drill it. So we're planning to do some drilling on both of those projects next year. And this capital raising is going to feed some of that drilling program. So we're focused on it, Northern Territory, because that's where you can mine uranium, along with South Australia in this country. So we're looking to do a bit more drilling and understand those, and maybe have some pretty good results come out of that drill program.
That's very strategic in terms of your focus in Northern Territory. Now, I just have one more question for you, Murray, and as always, just for you to provide 2 to 3, key investment highlights. Just summarising our discussion as to why our small caps audience should potentially invest in EL8.
We have a process we've developed called Upgrade. It lowers the cost base by 50% compared to conventional. We've demonstrated in a plant in a bench scale. We've now got a project to do it on. We've got the Koppies project, 66 million pound, 44 million pound in indicated. So we're now going to prove the upgrade process through a demonstration plan on Koppies, and then prove it works continuously and at scale. And then we're going to feed that into a study to confirm what we've been saying about that 50% reduction in costs. So that's a clear pathway now for us, and we'll take that project down the development path. At the same time, we've had 4 discoveries in 4 years. We continue to expand our exploration program in terms of making sure we can try and find 5 or 6 or more. And we've converted 2 of those discoveries into resources. We expect to convert the other 2 next year into resources. So an excellent track record, excellent conversion rate. So a technology that works fantastically, and we'll prove it. An exploration program that's very effective, and in a commodity that's, as you said, the hottest commodity on the planet, pardon the pun.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention your stock is now backed institutionally with, fully funded $25 million recently raised, which is a huge feat.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, love it.
Now, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been absolutely wonderful to catch up with you again after almost, I think, 10 to 12 months since we last caught up. And it's just phenomenal to see the incredible progress that the company has made, particularly at Koppies. And looking forward to watching the company. Its drilling program in Northern Territory, its continued exploration programs in Namibia, and looking at your development pathway as well at Koppies. So congratulations, and look forward to having you back on the show soon.
Thank you, Jess.